this is have been completely different experience to anyone. Parents, kids themselves, teachers, doctors, even the psychiatrist. I'm sure she's going to talk to us. She knows everything about the psychiatry of kids, but it has been quite a difficult task for everyone. People to be locked down, they don't move, they study with the way they are studying now, and there's so many questions need to be answered. And people are very keen now on how can we maintain this, if you like, protection period, if I call it, this isolation. We're still going to continue in this for another possibly 4 or 5 months. And what is the serious impact? Because now people are talking about the massive losses, not just in education, but in the mental well-being and so on. I'm going to start by asking, or let me first introduce the 3 distinguished panelists I have with me. From United Arab Emirates, from Abu Dhabi, I have Dr. Amani Hassan. She's a consultant child psychiatrist. I will introduce her in detail more shortly. And then from London, in East London, we have Remi Atoyebi. He's a leading head teacher, primary head teacher, and she's a well-experienced, and also she sits on a reference group which advise the government Department of Education. And also from Cairo, we have a distinguished professor, Professor Dalia Kamel. She's a professor of physical therapy. She's well experienced on physiotherapy, and she will talk to us. She has a wide experience on Africa and Middle East. And then they will help us to moderate lots of questions. I think they're going to be very difficult. We have Sadiq Al-Jizuli Mukhtar, he's a year 7 students, and we have Lana Alam, she's year 6. And not only their personal perspective, but they're going to share with us lots of questions from kids. And Ahmed will help us with lots of questions from the social media. So please do send your question, and I urge you to make it as short as possible. And if there is a possibility, you will say, this is a question for Remi or for Amani, it will help us. But otherwise, all of them, they will jump into answering it, and I'm sure we will get. Now, we're going to go to is Remi Atoyebi, and Remi is the head teacher in Osmani Primary School in East London. She's have a wealth of experience with primary schools. She also member of the Department of Education. For those outside the United Kingdom, the Department of Education is the Ministry of Education. It's just in the UK, we call it Department of Education. She's a member of the Department of Education Primary Head Teacher Reference Group. She got a wealth of experience in teaching. She got a master's degree from University of London, and she got a postgraduate certificate. She got, she's associate CIBD with the Charter Institute of Personal Development. And she got a wealth of experience dealing with kids. So, Remi, I will give you the, I'll give you the co-host, and you can start, and then we'll come back to Amani. So the floor is yours, Remi. And thank you very much for your time.
So before I start, I would like to say a big well done and thank you to all parents and carers and educators all over the world for all that you're doing to support the children in your care during this pandemic. To parents and carers, you're doing the best, and your best is good enough. To educators, you are going above and beyond, given the context you work in. Lockdown has posed a major challenge to all of us. Most people have found lockdown a major challenge. Some have found it okay. For some, it has been a time of self-discovery, opportunity, and growth. But we're all at very different places. Please, some of us have found everything normal. Like some people are doing really well. Some people find it a challenge, a struggle, especially children, not being able to go to school, not having a warm hug from their friends, not shaking hands. And sometimes we having to think about making sure we have our mask before we go anywhere. But for most children, the impact of lockdown is significant. Being indoors all day long, not being able to attend school. Some children are really, really resilient, but for some children, it is a source of concern and anxiety for them and their parents. So my aim during this session is to offer some simple and practical tips to support parents and children during this period. So here we go. So practical tips to support children. First and foremost, the most important thing is having structure. Children feel more comfortable and learn better with a predictable routine during the day, even though it might be difficult in some situations. It's very, very tempting to want to have a lie-in, but please ensure that you get up and go to bed at the same time each day, have regular meal times, take regular breaks, make time to be active. Remember, children, if they are in school, have regular breaks, playtime, lunchtime breaks, and that really helps to reinvigorate and energize them. The other thing that children struggle with, parents struggle with, is actually behavior management. It is important that as parents, you discuss and agree expectations and the rules that govern your home, your relationship, obviously with the reasoning why you saying we can do this, we can't do this now, or we have to do this later. It's really, really important. Children really understand when you explain things to them. Be clear about the consequences of not following those expectations or those rules. Always try to modify behavior, catch them being good rather than tell them off all the time when they're doing what you expect them to be doing. Praise them, tell them, well done, I like the way you're sitting down. I like the way you're working so hard. Be firm and follow through as well. That is really important because sometimes children get really confused when you say something and you don't follow through. That leads to a conflict of emotions. They're not sure. They try you, they push the boundaries. So supporting children, in particular the children who are in early years, the best thing to do as a parent is to let them learn. Learning through play is the most important thing. It could be real life, it could be pretend, socializing, speaking, listening, taking turns, really, really important. Self-help skills like dressing up, making their own bed, helping you set the table. These are really important things at this point in time. These are the sorts of things that parents should be focusing on, rather than it's got to be about school, 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 school. Children learn a lot by doing everyday things, especially at that age. Gross and fine motor skills development is really, really key. Ensure they're going out, they're being active, they're climbing, they're playing with things like Lego buttons for their fine motor skills. Mark making is also important. Drawing, painting, just making mark is really important. You might think it's pretend writing, but actually it's the beginning of great things. That's how children learn to write. E.g., okay, we got to write the shopping list. It doesn't matter if it looks like squiggles to you. The children are, a child's developing their map making skills. Sing songs, rhymes, talk about stories, read stories together. These are the sorts of things that parents should be doing with very, very young children. Please do not worry about they've got to sit down and focus and read. All of these things you can do through real life, play, or pretend. Supporting the older children. Help them with their work, sit with them, give them support and direction, but also encourage them to work independently too. Try to break down the work into short periods based on how long they can concentrate. The rule of thumb is their age +2. So if a child is 5 years old, it's 7 minutes maximum before they get really distracted. And that is okay. You can go have a drink, have a glass of water, and then they carry on again. Do active and practical things rather than trying to make them sit and listen for long periods of time. Take frequent breaks and actually praise and reward them as well. So supporting children with special education needs and disabilities. This is really important. A lot of parents who have children with additional needs have actually found this period really, really challenging. But one of the things you can do is create a routine for your child using visual timetables, really making sure that the child knows that there is a plan, there's a structure in place. Okay, well, this is what we're doing now, this is what we're going to do next, and this is what we're going to do afterwards or tomorrow. Give them something to look forward to. Help them stay in touch with friends and families through video calls, talking about online chats to their friends, but obviously ensuring it's all done within a safe and secure environment. Try doing things together like creative stuff, messy play, life skills such as cooking, gardening, making their bed. These are really, really key skills that a lot of the children with additional needs will benefit from. Help your child express their feelings through social stories. There's so many of them online that you can access, but these are really, really important. But don't beat yourself up as a parent. Check-in learning, how do I know my child's learning? How do I know my child's making progress? It's all around talking. Talk about what they've learned, ask them questions using the 5W. Who did that? What, when, where, why? Or thy, tell me how, why. That kind of like just gives them room to explain what they've learned to you. And when we talk about the things we know, it embeds in us, we learn it a lot better. Devices and reducing screen time. This creates a lot of stress in homes and in families. Digital devices are not the only way to learn. Manage screen time with a timer and break up screen time by getting your child to use books and other printed materials that school has provided or that you have at home. They should write by hand, trying to encourage them to write by hand. Try asking them to complete work by hand, write a diary, a summary of the things they've done each day, or a to-do list. Once again, be active, get away from the screen regularly, and stop using digital devices at least an hour before bed. Because when I talk to a lot of people, adults, parents, we're all struggling with getting a really good night's sleep. And if you're not sleeping well, it really impacts on your mood the next day. And, finally, for parents, we acknowledge, those of us in education know how challenging this time is. You are not teachers, you are not trained. Yes, you are the parents, you're the primary caregiver of your children and the primary educator as well, but you are not trained in terms of the pedagogy of teaching. So please use your support network, use online support, but prioritize rest and play for yourself and your child. And please do not beat yourself up. You are doing the best you're doing at the moment.
I mean, thank you very much. This is a very concise, and you are a head teacher, so no surprise you deliver a such precise talk. Now, Remi, I will wait for you to. The question I would like to ask you before we come back to the students later. I know it's a difficult question, and maybe as a head teacher, you may not like to be asked that question, but by the end of June, July, the time where we normally take our kids home for the end of the year, and you are in that committee or the reference committee for the Ministry or the Department of Education, and you are a very experienced head teacher, can you quantify, if at all possible, I know it's not possible easily, but can you quantify how much you think our kids are missing in the academic content? Imagine Lena is in year 6, Sadiq is in year 7, and you have year 5, 4. So from year 5 to 6 or 4 to 5, whatever it is, for you as a head teacher, how much do you think they have lost in terms, or they will be losing likely by June, July, when they finish and go for the summer break?
Okay, so this is how I see it, and I think there's some research out there to say that for every one day that a child misses from school, it takes 5 school days to catch up. So if you then multiply the number of days we've been out of school, or the children have been out of school, by 5, that will give you a rough idea of how much learning time they've lost. Well, obviously, we cannot generalize to say every child would have lost the same amount. Some children have really good parental support. Some schools provide live teaching. Some schools provide remote learning online. It just depends on how much. Yes, it's not the same as being in school face-to-face, because even as teachers, when you are working online with children, the nuances of assessment, the body language of the children, the motivation, you can't see it on a screen. So really, it's not a blanket statement about this is the amount of time they've learned. It all depends on each child's context, each child's circumstances. But as a general rule of thumb, I think there is research out there that says for every one day that a child misses from school, it takes 5 school days to catch up.
But that's clearly is quite alarming, because they have lost lots of days. Now, before I move to Dr. Amani, I think she's back on track on us. Another question, before I know this is worrying many parents. We have seen, even there was parents on BBC in 10 or something a week ago, your school, my daughter's school, lots of school like Sarah and others, they're teaching online. I can see now, Lena can tell you she's studying from 9 to 3:30, more or usual. But there are schools are not teaching online, and I'm sure you're aware of that. So that means those kids are losing a lot if they're not even having an online teaching.
when you say online teaching, I think we have to be very, very clear what you mean by that. There are different types of online teaching. There is live teaching where the teacher is actually talking to the children in the classroom. They can see all of the class. So that's live teaching. Then there is online teaching where the teachers might have done a PowerPoint, pre-recorded their voice over it. A child can go back, stop it, rewind it. It's a bit like using the Oak National Academy, which the government's paid for. But I don't think there's any school, I doubt it, I cannot categorically say there aren't any schools, but I think the vast majority of the schools in the United Kingdom are offering one form or the other. Okay. So I wouldn't say there is a school in, because actually it's a legal requirement in the United Kingdom that we provide some form of remote learning for the children. So we've got to be clear about, is it live teaching or is it remote learning? So there is a difference. So some schools, because of the context with which the school works or the family context of the children in the school, where you might have very, very large families where they have 4 children and they've got only 1 or 2 devices, it is additional pressure being piled on the children, being piled on the families in terms of you've got to log on at this time. Except the children each have a device to themselves, that would be very difficult. So every school has an offer, I would say, of yes, you have an option to do this or you have an option to do that, as long as you are providing something that the children can access online. I think it's okay, because actually there is a legal requirement that we provide some form of remote learning.
Okay, thank you very much, Remi. Very fantastic start. Let me move to Amani. Just to give a brief background about her, Amani is a consultant. I have to read them because there's lots of letters here, Amani, if you don't mind me. She got a master's degree in medical law from Cardiff University. She also got another master's degree in clinical neuropsychiatry from Birmingham University. She's a fellow of the Royal College of Psychiatrists, London. She got a diploma in psychological medicine from Cardiff University. She has been a consultant in the UK for a long time. She is now a consultant in Emirates, United Arab Emirates, in Sheikh Khalifa Medical City. So Amani will share with us overall the mental health and the well-being of our kids. So Amani, the floor is yours. If you can unmute yourself, and then the floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction, and I'm gonna share the screen as you told me last time. Yes, okay. So I'm gonna talk about the psychological effect actually, or the impact of COVID-19 or the lockdown on our kids. So I want everyone to look at this picture where you could see a girl brushing her teeth with her mom, and they both are looking at the mirror. And what I'm trying to make clear here is the child is nothing but a mirror of his or her own family. So if we look at this mirror, the child actually is mirroring the mother in her behavior. So she's brushing her teeth with her mother. They are both wearing white colors. And if we could see that the mother hand is on the tummy of the child, and the child is also trying to hold her mother hand or finger. And the child is smiling, and the mother is smiling as well. And so if we put this picture in our head, it's actually what children are doing during the lockdown are more or less mirroring their parents' behavior. Okay, so the COVID-19 pandemic, unfortunately, it's not something easy. It's almost like a disaster or a crisis for many. And it affected us in many aspects. And it's like any other, how can I say, trauma or a loss or a disaster, people's reaction differ towards it. So for some people, they perceive, yeah. So for many people at the beginning, it was like a shocking thing. Shocking in what way? The way of their behavior was a complete state of disbelief. There isn't such thing as that. It happened in certain countries. It's not going to come to us. We are not affected by that. We are different, or thank God we haven't seen it yet. So you've seen for a while a state of shock. So some people went through this phase of shock. Some, you know, and people differ in terms of the time they did spend in that phase. Okay, and people, when they are in shock, some people will have or experience or exhibit inappropriate behavior. I'm not going to go into that now. And some people will be muted completely. So all I'm saying is all of us, we went through that state of shock. For some, it took us just a few days. For certain people, it took them months. So I just want you to go through with me and focus on these phases, and just think of each child as mirroring his parents or her parents and reflecting every phase. Then for other people, they will move from shock quickly, and they will never go into that shock, and they will be in a state of denial. And the state of denial will be like, there is no such thing as COVID-19. There is no COVID here, or I'm fine. None of my family and friends had it. So this is another phase where it's reflected in the household, where kids are locked with their parents. So I'm trying to reflect on the children behavior and reflecting the state where the family is experiencing. I cannot move this. Oh, sorry, we have to go back. Then from denial, some families, they experience anger. And anger is because maybe many plans just failed, or the parents, one of them lost their job, or lost family member, or their whole life plan just are upside down. So when the family are going through anger, or the parents are going through anger, that anger might be manifested in over-exaggerated response. People differ in the ways they show their reactions. And some family or some parents may exhibit physical and verbal aggression. So I want you again to think of that, and to think of a child that will mimic that behavior. As we go from shock, disbelief, or denial, and then anger, then there is this phase of depression, that all of a sudden it's a reality. I can't do anything about it. I've lost family member, or I've lost my job, or I am unable to leave home completely. So it's a state of depression. And I would like to make it very clear here, the depression I'm talking about is not a depressive disorder. It's not a psychiatric disorder. It's actually just feeling sad, crying, and you don't know how to comfort yourself, or maybe having these catastrophic thoughts. All right, all my family are gonna go one by one. And then people might experience nightmares. And I'm talking here, this state of depression might be shared with both the family and the child. And I repeat, the child is nothing but a mirror of his own family. And for some people, they just stop functioning. And I'm aware of certain people who refused to leave home, even when the lockdown was eased for a certain, if we can all remember, last year during the summertime, when COVID-19, or we came out of wave 1, there was some kind of relaxing or easing of some of the measures. But for certain people, they did not leave their home at all, and their kids as well did not leave their home at all. So this is just, for many families, they went through this depressive phase. All right, and then the final phase, whenever there is a grief or a crisis or a problem, is the acceptance. I'm accepting the presence of COVID-19. It's there, it's a reality. We completed a whole year. We moved from wave 1 to wave 2. And God knows, I've heard certain countries talking about wave 3 and 4 and 5. So there is kind of a state of acceptance. So most of the world at the moment is in this phase. Saying that, there are still families and parents who are stuck in either the anger phase or the depressive phase. And according to the phase the families are stuck in, this would be reflected on the behavior of the children. Okay, so I'm gonna now to finish my presentation, I'm just gonna think of how do we get out, or how do we get the best out of this. So when we talk about management, it's very important to know or to diagnose which stage or phase this family is stuck in with their child. And it's important also to know the child age, because if the child is below 13 or below, or a primary school child, these children are not capable of abstract thinking. Their thinking is just literal. So whatsoever is being said to me, I'm going to believe it, and they're not capable of how can I say that, kind of making sense of things. So the child age will help us understand his or her behavior. And also we need to know what is the behavior to start with. So when we talk about certain behavioral problem with the lockdown, what is this behavior? And we need also to see, or to make sure whether there is a physical or mental illness, whether in the child or the family. And part of the management, we need to establish a routine. A routine will make sense a little bit of the situation or the lockdown. And for every family, I believe if we set a plan for the week, the children won't feel that they're lost. At least somebody's taking leadership. And as the previous speaker, our head teacher, said, that should be a special consideration for children with neurodevelopmental disorder. And what I meant here, children with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, autism spectrum disorder, Tourette syndrome, and learning disability, because these kids by nature, routine is their life. So these kids, I'm afraid we have to make a different plan for them, all right? Because routine is a big thing for them. All right, so when we talk about management, we have to talk about good coping strategies. We've got a problem, and it's an endless problem. We don't know when all this is going to end. No one knows when this lockdown will finish. So we kind of psycho-educate the families that maybe you need to adopt a good coping strategies. So there should be a sleep routine. And when I mean sleep routine, the sleep routine is not for the child alone, because I'm repeating myself here. The child is nothing but a mirror of this family. So a sleep routine, it's not good to send my child to go to bed, although we are all locked down, we are all sharing the same house. You go to sleep now, but I will stay. I don't think a child will accept that. And there should be also a routine when it comes to meals. So there's be a proper meals as before, as if the school is open. And parents also need to sit with their kids while they're taking meal. Not everyone will take a dish and go into his own bedroom. And there should be time dedicated for activities. So yes, this is a school time, but time for activities. And here I encourage activities like board games. And I encourage families to play with their kids. And to have a discussion, like, so there will be an open dialogue. So I'm not talking about screen time here. And it's also good to ask the child to help in the house. It's okay for the child to help his parents in cooking, and to learn even to cook even something almost nearly as simple as making a toast or eggs, according to the child age, supervised or unsupervised. Cleaning also, emptying the dishwasher, just to keep that child busy, not to leave that child's imagination going wild and having catastrophic thoughts about, oh, for how long I'm going to be on this lockdown, what will happen if I lose my parents and that. So the more activities the child is busy in, we ensure to some extent a better mental health. And then going out for a walk, I believe this is having fresh air, just leaving the house. It's important, it's healthy. Research even proves that physical activities really do enhance mental health and lift the mood. And also, it's good to have an open dialogue and discussion with the child. So I said it before, the world of secrets will not help anyone. We need to have, so whenever the child asks us a question, we have to answer as honest as we could and simplify the information according to their cognitive ability. The other thing with regard to activity, it's very important to dedicate a place for each activity. So for example, all our life, if we are eating around the dining room or then around the dining table in the dining room, we should not change that to the bedroom. If we are playing in the sitting room, we should play or do these board games in the sitting room. So it will be good to dedicate, to make, place for each activity. So the child will have a sense of there is somebody in control here and we haven't lost our life. And it's very important that as soon as they wake up, they leave their bedroom. I know for certain families, their house might be small, but if the child could leave the bedroom only for sleep or to take a rest, it will be great. If family could afford that, please, we need to separate place of sleep from place of studying, from place of eating. So this is very important. So what are the bad coping strategies? What are the bad things that we do and we are not aware of? And it's not helping the lockdown at all as parents, because it will be reflected on our kids' behavior. Shouting and screaming at a child, the child will shout and scream back at me, or will shout and scream back at his siblings, because this is a learned behavior. And we have to be very careful within the lockdown period, because the learned behavior here is going to be maximized. In the past, let us say that if we go to work or when our kids go to school, we spend kind of 8 hours with them before each one go to bed. And they got 8 hours at school. But we are talking here about almost 16 hours if we exclude sleep out, that the whole life we are trapped with them in the same house. So we have to mind our behavior. So shouting and screaming is not going to help anyone. And just be mindful that you're teaching your son a bad thing or your daughter, that whenever there is a disaster, your coping strategy should be shouting and screaming. So we should consider long-term consequences of our behavior. Bullying, in a way, this is bullying. I'm talking about the child bullying his siblings, but on the same time, if the parent is being, how can I say, mean to the child will learn nothing but bullying. Drinking and eating a lot in front of the child will mimic that behavior, will drink and eat a lot, because this is the way you're coping with the pandemic. This is the way you're coping with a lockdown as a parent. You're eating too much. Even if this is your bad coping strategies from before, in front of the child, try to change this in a way, because all this period, you have to multiply it by 2. As I said, we've lost more or less the school. I know we're doing online learning, it's at home, but for most families, they're actually sitting beside that child. Increase screen time. So it's not good to say to the child, listen, you've watched computer and you've done computer games enough. You've been watching your mobile for a long time. That's it, stop it while I'm looking at my mobile 24/7. So as I said, the child is mirroring his parents. When we do less physical activities, time for us to go for a walk, and we say, oh, let's forget about it today and let's do something else. Because as I said, exercise kind of help your body, help your brain, and there is a lot of evidence and research with regard to exercise. Disobedience, so parental discord, as I said, there are reports about increased problems between parents, husband and wife. So we have to make sure that at least there is some form of a code of conduct in front of our kids. Hitting others, verbal and physical aggression towards a child, the child will learn that my father does hit out, I will hit out. And although we know there is this social services thing, and we know that we are not doing harm, or we know there is kind of like a big brother watching, but the sad thing during this pandemic, there is no one to report to. So we have to be mindful and careful. And I know this talk is not only for UK, it's for the whole, as there are many people watching it from different parts of the world, we have to be careful. Any bad coping strategies or bad behavior is going to be reflected, and it's going to be a long learned behavior for our child. And then lying at a child, telling lies to a child, he will justify it and say, my father lies, so there is no harm. If adults are lying, I can lie as well. So this is more or less, I'm trying to give just a brief presentation just to give an idea about the psychological problem during the lockdown. And I'm just then going to be open to this, to any question. Yeah, finished.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amani. Extremely helpful and useful, really. If you could kindly just end the share.
All right.
So we can, yeah. Thank you very much, Amani. Extremely, I'm following here, extremely helpful. And this is very well placed, complementing what is said earlier by Remi. I will come back to you with the discussion, but there's one question I know is being echoed quite a lot. Given what you have said, assuming, for example, for the sake of argument, in the UK, likely we might see the light at the end of the tunnel getting out of the house, maybe June, July, maybe this summer we can go out, go to the bar, maybe. But let's assume June or May or other countries, maybe different times. Are our kids, they were just like in a prison, we're going to open the gate and they will just run freely, stress-free, or there will be a rehabilitation period we have to count and think about it from now? So they will just be normal when we go out and finish. Vaccination is finished, say by June, July, August, and then they can go back to school or whatever in next September. Are they just going to be as normal as they used to be, or there will be a rehabilitation period for them to recope back to the normality or to cope with this normality again?
Okay, thank you for the question, but I believe this is a difficult question to answer because there is ongoing research at the moment at different level with regard to the impact of the COVID-19 and lockdown on kids and their mental health, sorry. And one of the things we're expecting, already there are reports about increased anxiety, increased depression. So we're expecting to see cases of post-traumatic stress. What does it mean that post-traumatic is after, I'm out of this trauma, I'm still reliving it. So whether children will be able to go out, I'm hoping that for the majority, it will be a normal kind of rehab or going back to school. Saying that, we are expecting a surge because at the moment, there is kind of a decreased rate of children seeking kind of help from psychiatric services. We are not, that is not reflecting that there is no problems, but that's reflecting that parents are reluctant because of the fear of contracting COVID-19. They're reluctant, they're trying their best to sort the child at home. But we are expecting a surge or increase in the prevalence of many kind of what we call neurotic disorder, depression, anxiety, not only in adults, but in kids as well. But the scale of that is nobody will be able to quantify it. But saying that, I believe it's not a prison. So if we're doing this work and trying to normalize life, we're not hopefully going to be discharged from prison. And as I said, if you keep the child busy in doing activities, you're not leaving his brain to go wild into catastrophic thoughts, So it might be to kind of promote some form of positivity. We're going to leave the house, life is going to go back to normal, So I believe promoting positivity is very important in this hard time. What will happen in June? I cannot see myself saying to a child in June things are going to we're going to go back to normal because we don't know what's going to happen. But if this is our reality at the moment, we have to live in this acceptance phase. This is our reality. And whenever people start to mourn or complain, I believe we need to say, I'm glad or thank God we are alive.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amani. Let's now introduce our third speaker before we open it up for discussion. And please have your question prepared. If your kids are there with you, either send the question on the chat or by the Facebook, and then we can send them. There will be lots of questions already being prepared by the kids in addition to yours. Now I'm going to give the floor now to Professor Dalia Kamel. Professor Dalia is a professor of physical therapy at Cairo University. Cairo University is one of the leading universities in Arab countries and in the Middle East and in Africa. She got a degree, master, and PhD from Cairo University. She is well-respected academics and researchers in physiotherapy, in rehabilitation, and she has published a lot. So she will share with us also her perspective. So we will have more or less a complete picture, because you can see there's an echo of lockdown, long hours of screen watching, physical movement. So she is going to cover that, and then we will bring the three of them together and we take it from there. So Professor Dalia, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for giving us the time, and you're joining us from Cairo. Please go ahead, the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you, Professor Alam, to give me this opportunity, and I'm welcoming all the attendees, and as well as the respective speakers that already I enjoyed their talk actually, and covered many points that I was planning to discuss, but thank you for taking this responsibility. As well as I wanted to appreciate the contribution of Lana and Sadiq in this event, as they are representative and well representative for their peers, while we are talking about very important topic about the children and the lockdown. Actually, this whole situation of COVID-19, it's catastrophic, as you mentioned, and it was a disaster for the whole world, even in the recent history, and we were not ready for such a pandemic. That's why it was a hectic situation for all the countries and the government. That's why they took this decision of the lockdown, and I can say it was unprepared, and we are not prepared already for it. That's why we faced a very hard time as a family, as well as the children. They faced the same situation with us. For this lockdown, it affected both the physical health and the mental health, as Dr. Amani covered the mental health. That's why I will concentrate over the physical part, or the physical side effects of the lockdown. We cannot deny that the physical activity or the moving around was completely reduced all over the world, from all the category of the society, the adults, the elderly, as well as the children. So we have this bottom line conclusion about the reduce of physical activity. But I wanted to take it from a broader point of view, as to take it with its different or different pictures or different variation. Firstly, I wanted to define what is the meaning of physical activity. Physical activity is the bodily movement, any body movement which needs contraction from our muscles and result in energy release or energy expenditure. We have different types of physical activities, the structured physical activity and unstructured physical activity. Or in another words, we can say organized physical activity and non-organized physical activity. With the lockdown, we reduced the structured one, which is reflecting the sport activity, to have like a coaching and restricted routine to do regular physical activity. This part or this form of physical activity was reduced due to, of course, the decision of lockdown and closing all the spa, all the clubs, social clubs, sport clubs, even all the leagues, tournaments, competitions, all of these shut down. That's why the structured physical activity was reduced. And on the other hand, the unstructured physical activity was increased. This unstructured physical activity, this is the self-determined physical activity that we determine by ourselves what is the form of activity we want to doing in, like walking, like biking, like board riding, or whatever any form of exercise we wanted to apply. But the difficult part about the unstructured physical activity, it's self-determined. So with the lockdown situation and restricting our movement outside, because some of the countries applied the lockdown in addition to curfew. So it gives more restriction to the movement outside the home. So that's give disadvantage that when we go to a physical activity, it will be reduced the desire, or okay, we can postpone it to later on, and ended up with doing nothing of any physical activity. On the other hand, this situation of lockdown is increasing the sedentary behavior. And this sedentary behavior, that lacking of physical activity, as well as changing of the eating behavior, as my colleagues highlighted in their presentation, that the eating routine was changed with a lot of junk food, unhealthy eating behavior, and this has a consequence, both the sedentary behavior as well as the lack of physical activity, to increase the obesity. I can say that a lot of people complaining from increasing their body weight, especially in the children, and we are fighting before the pandemic, the obesity pandemic. So what about the situation right now with increasing the pandemic in this lockdown? I wanted to highlight about, take it from a little bit optimistic way, that we wanted to not to take it for guarantees that the physical activity increased for all the children or for all the people, I can say all the members in the family. No, we want to be fair enough that we have to look over the prior physical activity of this child or this person. What about the level of physical activity before the lockdown or before the pandemic? Maybe it's reduced from the beginning, so the lockdown will not affect hugely in this person in comparison to another person or another child who were engaging heavily in sport or organized physical activity. As well as the socioeconomic level, Professor Alem and my dear colleagues, the socioeconomic level also affecting the level of physical activity. The people with high socioeconomic level, maybe they are living in standalone houses with a playing background or courtyard. So this is there is a facility for the children and the family members to engage in some of the physical activities that may fulfill the requirements in this time of lockdown. But on the other side, with the people with low socioeconomic level, maybe they don't have this facility. They are living in multi-story building and they don't have any access for gyms or exercising equipment. That's why maybe these people or this category faced a tough problem for keeping up with the required level of physical activity. But on the other hand, we may have like public gardens, public parks, may have a space or a facility for doing such physical activity. I wanted to take a point that Dr. Amani raised about the family rules. She said the child is a mirror of her family, and this is completely true. So if the parents are physically active, if they are doing such form of activity or exercises or sport, so this will encourage, of course, the children to engage in this physical activity before and during the lockdown time. On the other hand of the lockdown and reduced the physical activity is increasing of the screen time. And especially Remi said right now that we are going or converting to the online or remote learning. And this is a big problem. We may discuss it later on, but the screen time is increased due to the lack of activity outside the home, as well as going for the learning platforms. So this screen time, I'll take it from the physical impact, if I can say. Of course, the sitting in front of the screen for a long time to take either the learning classes or as well as to do recreational activities, it will impact the children in their eye. They will complain from eye strains, headache, tensional headache, neck problems, faulty posture, back pain, upper back pain. So by the end, they will corrupt their posture, and this is, of course, we are not looking forward for our children. So I'll give only one quick advice. It's a very nice advice about this screen time, which is called the 20-20-20 rule. So every 20 minutes, we should advise our children to move their eyesight away from the screen and looking for any object away from them about 20 feet, about 6 meters for 20 seconds. So every 20 minutes, look for an object away from by 20 feet for 20 seconds. I wanted to close my talk by 2 points. One important point: what is the recommended daily physical activity? This is according to the World Health Organization, as well as the French Agency for Food, Environmental and Occupational Health and Safety. For the children below 6 years old, they have to accumulate about 3 hours per day, any form of physical activity. So if we wanted to divide it over the day, every hour we can engage them in 15 minutes activity, and we have many forms of physical activity we can engage this young age and these. For the children between 6 to 17 years old, they should accumulate 1 hour or 60 minutes per day in form of physical activity, and twice a week in about 20 minutes muscle strengthening exercises. Because I wanted to highlight that lack of physical activity not only affecting the health, as I said, it will affect also the muscle strength, the bone strength. So maybe we'll end up with weakness of the muscles as well as weak bones or osteoporosis. For the screen time, also to be within the comfort zone or the safe zone, don't exceed 1 hour continuously for the children below 6 years old, and for the children between 6 to 17 years old, don't go continuously more than 2 hours for the screen time. Only one point optimistic I wanted to end up with for my talk, that this lockdown, it was a chance or opportunity to have like a health focus overview. It was a wake-up call for many of us to say, hold on, we want to have a look over the way of our eating, to go for eating healthy food and go into diet. And for the activity, we have the time, we have a lot of time. Why not to take it in or use it in a healthy way to do sport and engage our children in it? It gives us more family ties or time to look over children away from this race we are running it in everyday work. This is the talk I wanted to deliver right now, and I'm open for any question. Thank you.
Professor Dalia, thank you very much. Extremely complimentary, very nice talk. And I forget also earlier to mention that Professor Dalia has contributed in other fields to the World Association in different conferences. You got videos in the website, you can watch them. Now, let me start with you, Professor Dalia, because you mentioned two things. We had these questions going on, and he's already here now. I can tell you he's already here. So let's start, kick the question before I give the opportunity to the youngest, to you. Two questions being repeated across all culture. I know you are in Cairo now, you know the experience of the Middle East. You said you want us, we had an expert on nutrition, and he was talking about food, the diet. You want them to exercise, and you have already appreciated some of them, or some of us are living in a small flat, we can't move and all that. Food, particularly chips or crisps and chocolates. All families, all TVs, all the bits when they're talking, kids are consuming so much of them. Every parents agree these are not good food, no question. No one is going to argue. But even kids themselves at school, I'm sure Remi will ask her that question to comment. They've been told, even some school, they banned your kids to bring anything. But the real thing we are facing in our houses across the whole UK, across other many countries, kids are still one of the things parents are giving them in abundant, in many big quantities is crisp and chocolates. Some of them, they call it actually parents, but unfortunately they give kids all of this, not to get rid of them, but at least that's one of way of calming them down. That's number one. Number two, you mentioned about 2020. I really like that 2020. But if you ask any of the parents before they ask you here live, they will say to you, we know that, Professor, but we can't do it. When you take even, so do you have any tips? I know it's struggling, probably yourself is struggling in your house. Food, It's really not very difficult not to give them. And 2020 is very difficult to apply.
It's too difficult a question.
It's a very difficult question.
Yes.
That's why we start with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, about the food, we cannot deny that these snacks like chips, crisps, and chocolate are very delicious, and even as an adult, we like. But I have an idea, Professor Alam, and I am advising the people who are seeking to go for a healthy food or a diet. الممنوع مرغوب. I can say it in Arabic, then I translate it in English. الممنوع مرغوب. If you prohibit something, the desire toward this something is increasing and increasing. So modest or being in the middle or balancing the situation is the appropriate way to solve this situation. I cannot prohibit the children from eating chips or chocolate because there are temptation outside, and I am not with them 24/7. Maybe they are going to school in the regular days and they are seeing their peers eating these types of junk food. But to give them like a treat or with a regular regime is a solution from my point of view, to be in a balanced situation. Not prohibiting and not giving the all facility or all access to such type of food. This is my answer about the first question. The second question is 2020. Yes, it's difficult, but as long as I'm telling the child that after this 20 seconds, it's only 20 seconds to move your eyes away from the screen, and again, you will go back for the screen and continue whatever you are doing over your tablet, mobile, whatever. So no harm at all. It's like a practice. And the child or even the adult, because if we will look for the screen over the screen for a long time and try to look over anything away, you may feel blurred vision. So it's affecting all of us, and we have to apply it. And as we mentioned, the adults are the role model of the children. If we are, as an adult, applying this rule and giving them the models they have to follow, I think the application, it will be easier. But as Dr. Amani said, I'll not advise my child to move away from the screen, and I am looking at my screen. So why not we apply it both, so it will become like a practice, like a routine, and we'll do it every time we have exceeding this 20 minutes to keep our eyes in a good condition. So it's a hard mission, but we have to be involved. I'm reminding myself as a parent, and I'm giving the same advice.
Professor, just clarified, because people got very excited about this 2020. So for every 20 minutes they are on the screen of a mobile or an iPad, they have to look as far as 20 feet for 20 seconds.
That's it.
يعني بالعربي كده الطفل يشاهد في الموبايل 20 دقيقة، بعد ال 20 دقيقة عايزاه يقبل كده يشوف حاجة على بعد 20 قدم لمدة 20 ثانية.
Yes.
And then to do it again.
Okay. And continuously, if the child is below 6 years old, it's not exceeding 1 hour continuously in one episode. And
يعني
the people
less than 6 year old do not exceed 1 hour.
1 hour continuously.
Okay.
For the screen use. Yes.
Okay. So we'll get to
2
this
hours
one.
for the elder.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Professor. Let's now start the question and answer. We're going to start, but let me just make two reminders. Those who are joining us here on the Zoom inside the discussion room, they can just type on the chat, and Ahmed kindly is going to pick that question and we'll address them to the panel. Those who are following us from whatever social media channel, please write them. I know I have seen Ahmed and others are really taking questions from there. So please, we are reading them because we are just doing this to help everyone. So write your question in on your Facebook where you are watching. And finally, for those who are following us, particularly those in the Zoom, we are very pleased to have many as diverse people as possible from all over the world. There are some diplomats here from some countries and so on. If you are watching us and you would like to also share with us the perspective from your country, if you are watching us here, we will give you a chance, because I think the whole idea, we want to spread this globally. Now, I want to start kicking the question. I think let's give the kids the fairest chance of questions. Although I took the first question, I'm not a kid, but let's give the actual kid their chance of the question. So I'm going to start by Siddiq Al-Jizuli Mukhtar from Central London School. He is a year 7 child, if we call him. And let's fire away, Siddiq, with your first question. Just unmute yourself, ya Siddiq.
Thank you, Alam, for this opportunity. My first question is, does the internet over-exaggerate the virus?
Does the internet over-exaggerate the virus? Okay, so who would like to take this one? Remi, Dalia, Amani, anyone? I know you're not a virologist, but I don't know. Does the internet, yeah, go Remi, yeah, go ahead.
The internet is a really useful place for information, but I personally feel that you have to be selective. What's going on is reality, and I think if you haven't had the experience, you will think a lot of what's been said out there isn't real or isn't true. But from my own perspective, from the community that I work in, the virus is real, and as such, I think it is best to just hear what's been said, but also be selective about how you react to things. That's what I would say. But it is real. There's a lot of fake news out there as well, but I think you need to be selective of which platforms you go to. Best to probably go to mainstream media to get your information.
Okay, thank you very much, Remi. So let's now take a question. I promised a question from every place. Lena is Alam is year 6 student. Lena, what is your question? Unmute yourself and then go ahead. Lena.
The next question is, what do you think is the best way for children to have a good routine? For example, sleeping on time and waking up on time.
Okay, so who would like to take this one? Amani or Dalia?
Okay, I can answer this question. Thank you,
go
Lana.
ahead then. Yeah.
Yes, routine, as I mentioned, is structured. So if you have like an organized way of executing your day, it will be easy for you to apply whatever you wanted to apply. So you will have the space to fulfill whatever you wanted to fill it in this day. So waking up and sleeping in a fixed time, it's very important, and it's imitating the same routine you are used to during the regular school day. And in another way, it puts you in the same atmosphere of the regular school day and fulfilling some of the lacking we are facing right now from not going to school. So it's very important to have a routine, and you have to make like a block time for whatever you want. If you want to study in this time, if you wanted to exercise in that time, if you wanted to go for screen time in the other time. So it will, by the end, you will have a regular day.
Okay, thank you. Siddiq, another question? Siddiq?
Another question that I have, if both of someone's parents are key workers and the child is shielding from the virus, what should they do in that situation?
Okay. Who wants to take this?
Sorry, can you repeat that question again? Sorry.
Repeat the question, Siddiq.
Yeah, okay. If both someone's parents are key workers and the child is shielding from the virus, what shall they do in this situation?
So the parents, Amani, Dr. Amani, what Siddiq is saying, if the parents are both key workers, so they have to go, whether they're doctors, police officer, teacher, whatever, and the child is shielding from the virus, what they should do in this case?
I believe if the child is shielding from the virus, I believe it's like any other thing. One of the parents need to take time off. And the child needs to be isolated, but the child cannot be left alone. So it's like any other thing. Regardless of a key worker, the child needs to be accompanied by an adult. You know, an adult needs to be with the child. The child could not be left alone with such a, you know. And I don't think anyone will deny a key worker kind of a compassionate leave.
Okay, excellent. Now, Lena, another question before we move to other. Lena?
Would kids such as myself be vaccinated, and if not, why?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Children below the age of 16 have been exempted from vaccination for many reasons. One of them is whenever you conduct a research, mainly for something new like that, children are excluded from research. Not for every research, but whenever you're doing an experiment, children are not included because the child cannot consent, and you need a consent to participate in experiment for research. On top of that, we know just from also research that the pandemic affect worse people above 60. So in a way, and the vaccine is new, so I don't think it's to be tested on children. So this is as far as the research goes. We don't know. It might be on the future that children, the bar will be lower, but as far as I know, and from research, that there isn't, how can I say that we're not quite sure about the death rate in children from the COVID-19. I don't think it's comparable.
So far they are not going to be vaccinated, right?
No, to the best of my knowledge, before the age of the bar or the start of age vaccinating children is 16 and above.
Okay, fine. Remi, let me ask you this question. We have here the Prime Minister and the Minister, the Secretary of Education. They refer to school. We want to get even testing at the school. Sometimes this is school, they're referring to secondary, not the primary. Sometimes they refer to school. As the head teacher and also in this reference group of teachers to the advising the government, what is in primary school? Are you at all going to be do testing for kids, or this is just a secondary? Also about vaccine, what is the situation? What is the government line so far? As far as you know.
So in secondary school, the approach is to test children and the staff. And the reason being that they really do not want to be isolating children, because if they're okay, they should be in school. But if they're not being tested, if somebody in their bubble should test positive, then they have to isolate them for up to 10 days. So that's secondary school. So there's testing in secondary school, and the staff in secondary schools are being tested as well. So I think from last week, testing of adults has begun in primary schools, but it is still not compulsory. So we have got a lateral flow test, that's the Catrid test, where you can get the results in 30 minutes. That's happening in primary schools at the moment, but it's only for the staff who are attending school. There's no testing for children, and the testing is not compulsory.
Okay, excellent.
That's what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, thank you very much. Ahmed, any question before we go back to the kids? Ahmed Daim.
Yes, Prof. There are a few questions, actually. I've got a list one, so I'll try to be quick here. From Intisar Hassan, she said that it's also challenging for us as parents, harder for us to balance everything together. And I can relate to this personally, switching a laptop when you start in the morning, having to run up and down to ensure the kids are okay, the school laptop is running and so forth. The second question, from Ibtihal Awad, my problem is my children lost their learning motivation and eating appetite. Can we assist with that? Now, Ibtihal Awad, it's hard for teenagers to stay away from their phones and sleep early to attend school next day. Early online learning is very stressful for parents too. I have tried to send my child to school, but he didn't find it enjoyable like before the lockdown, because his friends are not there, so it's very hard for teenagers to stay at home these days. Abdesalam Babikir, what is the difference?
Ahmed,
yes.
If you hold on, let them answer these three questions and then you carry on. Okay, who wants to start? These are three questions. The first one is about very hard to struggle at home dealing with this. I know one of these questions definitely is going to go to Remi again, but Dr. Amani, Professor Dalia, the first question, who want to take that one? About the difficulty for parents struggling really handling what is going on in the house. More or less the stress for parents. We're talking now about stress for parents, really.
Maybe we can both answer.
Go ahead, yes.
All right, okay. I just want to comment about the lady who talked about her stress. Probably, I'm going to talk about certain families, or how can I say that? The norm in certain families where the mother has to do everything. Like she's responsible of doing the food, setting the kids, revising with them. So maybe she's finding it stressful because she's doing this alone. You know, we don't need to repeat again that COVID-19 is unprecedented. It's something new for us. So maybe I don't know where is the father of these kids, but maybe somebody need to share with her, because to take a responsibility of being almost like as doing the school, because in the past people didn't struggle with that because they send their kids to school, but now you got the school at home, and for many mothers or parents, they have to stay next to their child. So with that struggle going up and down and doing all these things, what is the role of the father here? And if there is an eldest child, I said it before in my presentation, if you could help them, if they could give a spare hand in helping in cooking, cleaning, washing, you know. So that thing of everything that it's only the mother has to do, I believe, although the pandemic brought a lot of negative things, but it's time also to change, or it's a wake-up call for some of, how can I say, it's bad behavior or bad things that used to happen, you know. So, okay. So she needs a spare hand, basically.
Okay. And I think in your last presentation, there was a question about kids with separated families. I know this is not necessarily the case here, but because you ask about the role of the second half, if you like.
Yeah.
I remember we have that video. I think we're going to refer people to them about if the kids are in a separated family, so they are not living together, what will be the situation? Okay, Dalia, do you want to comment on this before we go to the lack of motivation to school and this?
Yeah. The lockdown actually, Professor Alam, affected all the family members, not only the children, the adults as well have more stress due to the responsibility outside the home and inside the home. As you said, the children are sitting all the day at home, and this also brought more stress because we had relief about 8 hours while they are in the school. I'll take it from my point of view as a physical therapist. The exercising or any mode of physical activity is increasing the endorphin and enkephalin and serotonin, all the happiness hormones, to relieve or reduce the stress feelings that we face. So any form of physical activity, actually during the house chores as well, is bringing some of form of physical activity and relieving the stress. Some of the ladies are feeling relieving of stress while they are washing dishes. Some of the people like this. But it's useful from all the ways. But I'm commending the comment from Dr. Amani about the cooperation or giving a spare hand for the mother. Even from the children themselves, try to involve them in the house responsibility, because we are living right now all together at the same time, no going in and out, so all together in the same time. We wanted to divide the responsibility. It will relieve the mother. I think Ahmed raised one question about the eating appetite. It was reduced for some children. Yes. This is also one disadvantage from the lockdown or from the routine every day is the same place I am eating in without going outside. So I'm advising the mothers maybe to go out if there is a possibility to go for public gardens or public parks or even the balcony to take their breakfast, or maybe changing the way of delivering the food for, especially for young children who are affected by the sight. They are saying the eye is eating before the mouth. So the delivery of presentation or the way of delivering the food for the children, especially the young one, maybe it will help in increasing their appetite again.
Okay, Remi, the question of motivation, this is a big question. It's been observed by many parents. The kids, I think they have, all parents, they said to me, I'm the same. Kids are saying it's boring, there's no motivation. Do you see it as a job of someone else, like Dr. Amani, who is a psychiatrist, to motivate them? Or do you see it as your job as a teacher? I am a teacher myself, but you can say, yes, I would love to motivate them. That's part of our training. But in these circumstances, everything is against me to motivate them. So what is the situation? Kids are finding it boring and not motivating. It's not
yes.
So this is what they find it.
So when it comes to motivation, there are different types of motivation. Different children are motivated in different ways. Some children are motivated, you can use extrinsic motivation or intrinsic motivation. And so you need to know what motivates your child. But I would say in terms of the day-to-day, you got to start with a clear conversation with your children or your child. Okay, this is what we have to do today. How would you like to do it? So give them some form of ownership as well, because if it's always top bottom, it's like, why are you doing this to me? But if you're asking a child to say, okay, you got to do your schoolwork. Okay, say, for example, your school's got live lessons. You haven't got a choice. You got to do that. But actually, outside of that time, what would you like to do? So it's so important that there is a lot of creative work going on, a lot of physical work going on, being able to actually go around, move around, change the space that you're in. If you have a garden, if it's a lovely day, maybe rather than sit in the dining room or at a table to do your learning, could you go into the garden? So those are some of the things, but some children get motivated with things like stickers and marbles, but actually for some children, it's the fact that actually, if I do well, it's to my own advantage. But the bottom line is you got to have a conversation with your child. Sometimes it's like giving them choices. Would you like to do this first or that next? And you choose. But as long as you get to the same point, it is okay. But it might not be the way that us as parents really want it to happen. Sometimes it's a bit like, listen to your child. This is how they want to approach it. Let them do it that way, as long as you get to the final destination.
Now, Remi, our kids, they come back from school. You have lots of techniques in your school to motivate them, giving them a sticker, I don't know, that gold star, like in Sarah Kalimor, they give them every Friday we go, you got that golden star of the week. Yeah. Those things are all diminished because they are not anywhere with you. Do you have any advice to parents to, I know you mentioned several of them, but kids, they used to see that one as a true, real, if you like, acknowledgement of something they have done, or they did this something good behavior and so on. Now at home, do you have any tips? I know you mentioned few now, but if there's any more tips you can actually advise us to do as parents, more to look to the kids, more of formal recognition of what they have done, sitting at the table, watching these talks every day from the lecture.
So you could still use exactly the same thing as the school uses. It's very, very easy to pick up stickers from Amazon, or you kind of like go, okay, once you've done this, we're going to do something special. Find out something that your child really, really loves to do. And you say, okay, once you finish this today or every 2 days, you get to do that thing. So if your child likes to play a video game, you might kind of like go, okay, you cannot do this. This is school time. But if you finish your schoolwork, then you can have 30 minutes or 15 minutes playing that special game. But it's really down to, no two children are the same. You as a parent know what really excites your child. Tap into that and use it to motivate them.
Okay. The question, I know you answered it, but just to make sure, Omni said to you, so there is no plans for testing children in primary school. I know you said it, but
no
just
testing.
let's confirm it.
No
so in
testing
primary school, there's no testing. They're going to be in secondary. Okay.
It's only the adults. And even with the adults, it is not compulsory. Well, obviously, once we all return to school, it could be something we call a reasonable management instruction, where you are a member of staff in the school. We're trying to make the whole school community safe. This is what we've agreed to do, and I expect you to do it. But right now, it is not compulsory. You cannot force school staff to take the test.
Okay.
It is highly recommended, but you can't force people.
Okay, Ahmed, are these the 3 questions we took before we go to the kids and come back to you, or at least 3 questions, right?
Yeah, you've answered all the questions.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, there are more, but
yes, we'll come back to you more. Let's take another 2 rounds from the kids. Sadiq, what is your next question? Because they collected questions from kids and the website, and yes, go ahead.
So you see, for special need children, some of them need one-to-one support, and some of them don't have access to the computers or anything. How can they get that one-to-one support with their...
And also access to computer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what the government said, in the United Kingdom, the children who have additional needs are entitled to go to school. So they can be in school, certainly in the United Kingdom. I'm not sure about different parts of the world, but in the UK, yes, those children with additional needs, they can go to school. So it's not just the children of key workers. Those other children are classified as vulnerable. They are entitled to be in school. Obviously, it is a parental choice if they send their child into school. Saying that, if a parent tells a school that I really don't want to send my child in, I know that my colleagues in the United Kingdom would always find a way to make sure that the needs of that child is being met at home. Be it, here's a laptop, your LSA would do some, activities with you, like bucket time, some speech and language work. That support is there. But like I said, it's parental choice, but those children are entitled to be in school. But if a parent chooses to keep them at home, the school, I know 100%, would contact the family and try and organize some form of support for the child.
And about computer, we have seen and we have heard this about many families struggling really to have computers, laptops in order for their kids to read. I mean, now the government, just 2 days ago, they said 800,000 are being now sent or whatever it is. What is the situation? Anyone who is unable or they do not have in the household enough computer or iPad, whatever. So the government, it is also an obligation. They will definitely give a child one, right?
Well, that is not correct.
Okay.
The situation is this. The devices that the government's given to school is actually targeted at disadvantaged children. So children who qualify for benefit-linked free school meals. That's the situation of things. However, there are some schools who have a very, very healthy budget, or they have businesses who partner with the schools. They've donated laptops to those schools. I'll give you an example of my school. I have 180 children roundabout who are entitled to free school meals, but I only got 60 laptops from the government. And so I had to really sit down and be strategic about it, look at the school as a whole. And we took the experience of the last lockdown, which parents did we, or which children did we have to provide devices for in the last lockdown, and look at the large families as well. And so the priority was, if you don't have a device at all, we will give you one. Fair enough, a family might have 2 children but 1 device, they still have a device. But it's those children who don't have enough at all. But luckily, we've been doing a lot of fundraising. Some of our business partners, we are quite lucky in London and in Tower Hamlets in particular, that we have very good business links with the city. And we've just recently had some laptops donated. And of course, we're looking at those families who've got a lot of children, and we're making sure that they get additional devices. But what we're hearing in the press isn't what is happening in reality. You are allocated laptops based on the number of children, well, proportionately based on the number of children in your school. Not every child gets a device.
Okay, because we can see lots of complaint about this. Maybe, thank you very much, Remi. Let me ask maybe Professor Dalia, what is the situation as an example? Egypt is a big country. On these 2 perspectives, are all kids with special needs, and I know I have watched you talking about special needs kids and adults, are they like in the UK, it is their right to go to school despite this lockdown? And secondly, those who are studying from home, I know countries are teaching from home. I don't know about Egypt, what's the situation. Just generally from your international experience, what is the situation from what you know in terms of opportunity to access to learning devices? And also if you are a disabled child or special needs, do the governments really take it as seriously as in the UK? I think the UK is definitely serious about this.
Yes, Professor Lam, from my experience as a parent, as an academic, in school, at the level of the school, we have the two choices. Either it's according to parental choice to take it online or to go for school. This is from the beginning of the academic year in October. We started in October till the mid of or the end of December. So if the parents wish to send their children to school, yes, they can. And at the same time, if they wanted to have it like online, and the teacher at the same time is delivering the material for the students physically present in the class, as well as the students online. Since December, it was a decision taken by the president himself, as well as the prime minister, to go for the inter-semester break, which was started till the, it will be till the 20th of February. At the same time, there was no exams applied, but we will continue the online classes. All the students, no option to go for school right now. So all the students are taking their materials or their subjects through online. For the situation of offering computer or tablets, unfortunately, it's not available at Egypt. This is unfortunately, I'm saying, the government cannot support computers for every students who are in need of this computer, but for the special needs, there is highlighting about them. They have to prepare the environment for them to take their studying as usual, because they are special needs. We face another problem. Maybe the computers are here, but the internet access are not there. This is another situation we are facing, and even at the level of university, we face that problem, because we applied some of the exams or tests or quizzes through online, and we face this. It was despite it was a very limited number who didn't access the internet at the same time, but due to the pandemic situation, we are flexible enough to give them second chance, maybe third chance, but by the end, we are ensuring that every student got their required teaching material as well as conducting their exam. This is the situation.
Thank you very much, Professor. Lena, another question from Lena.
Yes,
Lena.
thank you. My next question is, if schools reopen, will children retake the term, the school year?
This question is being repeated actually. So Remi, sorry to come to you back again. This question is being asked by parents because they are very worried about the. So what is the situation?
So the situation is this, and this is my view. Every child is in the same boat right now. And so I think the onus is on the government and the education sector certainly to have a strategic view about how we streamline the curriculum. The most important thing for children to have, or young adults, is to have the basic skills. So if a child in primary school can cover the curriculum for reading, times table, number bonds, that is the foundation for every other area of maths. So if we're able to streamline the curriculum and make sure that children, when they return back to school, just really focuses on those basic skills, I don't think there's a need to repeat. Yes, we need to focus on things like reading, because reading kind of opens the world to you, opens the whole curriculum to you. But I don't think it's necessary, because absolutely every child is in the same boat. If every child has to repeat, it has a knock-on effect on so many other things. The children who are coming in, where are they going to go? So those who need to move to university, they're not going to move. So you might have a gap of a year. So it really has a huge knock-on effect on so many other things. So I think what we need to do, this is my view, is that we streamline, we take out we only focus on those really, really core skills that every child needs and every student needs, and take it from there.
And Remi, since you are in the reference group advising the education secretary, so it's a political question, but it's being asked, so I'm entitled to ask you because I can see it surfacing. Is the government seriously listening to people like you? You are a head teacher, you are in a reference group.
Yes.
Are they listening to you?
I will say the government has a lot of competing priorities.
Yes.
That's all I will say. We give our views and we give it openly, passionately, but I know that the government has lots and lots of views. They don't just listen to head teachers, they listen to all the health practitioners, they listen to the legal people, they listen to the treasury. So it is a massive source of advice and information and competing priorities. And I think the government's trying to do their best for everybody. So I wouldn't say they just listen to one party. I think they have to weigh up all of the all of the competing priorities, because when you think about the treasury, they're more concerned about people's taxes, finances. When you talk about the health, they're obviously concerned about the health of the population. So it's not just about education. So they have to kind of like weigh up and marry up all of those information in terms of policy direction and policy guidance.
Excellent. Ahmed, let's take another question from the social media. Ahmed?
Yes, absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm just going to repeat the fact that some of the question may be repetitive, but obviously we have late joiners and what have you. So, and some of them may be
Try to choose the one which they have not been discussed, because I can see there's a lot of them on the social media.
Yes. So, what is the appropriate time for kids to watch TV, iPad, the iPads and what have you? Mind you, they will go and they've got their online learning, they come back and they have to watch cartoon and stuff like that, TV network, what have you.
So you mean what time or how long you mean?
How long? What's appropriate for them to watch?
Okay,
they've already spent during the day, they've been online, they've been learning.
Good question. Dr. Amani, yes, how long do you recommend? You are an expert. How long you recommend them to watch? Okay. Sorry to put you on a spotlight.
No. Thank you for the question. When we talk about screen time, in my presentation, I clearly said I encourage board games because of the exposure of the increase in screen time already happening by different modality for different reasons. But I would like to approach that question from a different angle completely. Somebody earlier, I just want to link the two. Somebody earlier asked a question about routine and children are sleeping late. When I send a child to sleep, or say, let us say, for example, I said by 10 p.m. you need to go to bed. The child won't be able to sleep at 10 if he's doing, or he's been looking, or been, say, doing computer games, or looking at his mobile, or doing any of the increased screen time just before bed. Because we know for a fact that any light before you go to bed will suppress your sleep hormone. So you won't be able to sleep. So for a child to sleep, they need to switch off computers, TV, any device that will produce light at least an hour before their set time, and to enable the sleep hormone, which is called the melatonin, to raise or to increase in the brain and to facilitate that sleep. So what happens most of the times, the children will go to bed and they will look at their mobile until they fall asleep. So one of the things, it's important to stop kind of screen time just an hour before your desired time to go to bed. And then let me go back to, let me put a normal scenario that there is no lockdown. And the question is, what is the time allowed for the child to look at his mobile or to do computer games or whatsoever? I normally allow 4 hours per weekend. So 4 hours, let us say, on a Saturday, 4 hours on a Sunday, or Friday and a Saturday. So a total of 8 hours per week. But I prefer that to be within the weekend. During the weekdays, if the child finishes all his homework and there is nothing pending, I will allow 1 hour. But the problem is that hour will never be an hour. It will go on and on and on. So if we are able to control that, because many kids will say 1 hour is not enough for me, I don't want it. And then they will reach a deal, say, okay, can I take 2 hours and don't give me 1 hour tomorrow? No. It's either 1 hour a day or there is nothing. And even I'm allowing this hour during the lockdown because for me, also increase in screen time is better than any, there is nothing. Actually, I'm afraid for many kids, things are easily said than done. The only devil sometimes available or to ease life, to make life a little bit easy is computer games or the mobile. But I will not encourage more than 1 hour for leisure.
But Dr. Amani, sorry to interrupt you here. You are a very well-established consultant and you have been in the UK and now you are in Emirates, a different region. Do you realistically, sorry to ask you in this bluntly, do you realistically have seen parents offline telling you that is possible for the 1 hour you mentioned?
It's impossible. It's impossible.
Have you seen it realistically happening? 1 hour?
When I say, okay, what I've seen realistically, I've seen cases with computer games addiction. Okay. And when I put that offer, the child clearly resisted and he said that hour is not enough. So I said, I'm afraid it's either the hour or there is nothing, and you need to stick to the 4 hours per weekend. And although the struggle is, and the child will start to scream, but for me, I will always say the remote control is in the parents' hands, it's not in the child. So it's either you need to step up and take your parental role, or leave the child, does what he wants. So I know you're right. There is nothing called 1 hour, but for me, this is my rules. It's either you take 1 hour and I'm giving 4 hours.
How do you see us, the parents, from your long experience, the parents like us, how do you see us well educated or made aware? Because you're a consultant, you know these things in and out, and you can apply them, and you know your approach better than us. Do you think we are not well educated? Not educated by mean going to school, but getting training, listening to people like you to educate us, the parents, on how to handle this kind of important thing, sleeping early, blah, blah, blah. Do you think generally parents are well educated to really look after their kids from that perspective, the psychological one and the...
All right, maybe not well educated or well trained, maybe is a little bit harsh, but in general, how do we raise up our kids? 80 to 90% of what we're doing, we're mimicking what did our parents do for us. But unfortunately or fortunately, in our time, there wasn't that kind of revolution of the internet. So in a way, we are dealing with something, with a problem that wasn't there in our parents' time. So when I say parents are not educated, it's a new problem, all right? But what we're facing now is there is a clear problem called computer games addiction. And what is allowed, we give 8 hours in total per week for the child to play, because many kids will say, I need 4 hours to complete a game. Okay, these 4 hours cannot be during a school day by all means. So when I'm giving that hour is if you want to look at the internet to browse anything else, not to enroll in a game. Because there is a difference between me looking at a mobile or a tablet to do something and to play with, to do a computer game. So I'm talking about computer games because these are the ones that consume a lot of time. All right. So when I say 1 hour, the child most of the time will laugh and say, I don't want your 1 hour. All right.
Okay, excellent. Now, Doctora, now I just got, I'm not saying a permission, but I know they trust us. Siddiq, which you have listened to his question, Siddiq is actually a child of key workers, maybe Remi, you're listening, and Dalia, you're listening to this one. His parents are both key workers. I didn't want to ask him that personal question, but now we got an okay from his mom for him to share that. Siddiq, we got the okay here. If you want, Siddiq, to share with us And that's why I'm very interested to listen to you. And I think many kids would like to listen to you. Your both parents, father and mother, they're both key workers, and they are doing great work by helping others. And I'm sure you appreciate that. What was your experience during this lockdown?
Well, during this lockdown, really, it was very challenging a bit for like both of my parents, because sometimes their shifts might collide. So sometimes mom will have to take a day off or something like that. Also, school has been kind of very hard a bit, because with the internet, there's many things, because with our application that we use, whoever joins first is automatically host, and some children, they kick other people out from the lesson, which is very bad. I personally actually have experienced that. Also, the teaching issues isn't very stable or anything, because people might just actually annotate the stuff the teacher's actually putting on the screen, which is not good. Some people can't see it. And chatting out of school, like via text messaging or WhatsApp or stuff like that. Also, the school social life is completely deteriorating for me and some other people as well, because we were missing the break time to spend time with our friends. And also the assembly, always being together with the school, the whole school together. And being with my friends at school, right now I can't really see them or meet them anywhere. And
did you, during this period, particularly you are very special, both your parents, they have to work. Did you feel at any point it was a little bit unfair on you? Because this is every child, your parents are your parents. They might be both of them working, not working, one is working, not one is the other one is not working. Now, in your case, both of them, they were key workers, and they are doing great. Everyone appreciates the key workers, all of the key workers, police officers, teachers, working in, like, in your case, in hospitals, whatever it is. So did you at any point as a young child at your age felt, or even with this difficult time, I am unlucky to have two parents, they have to go on to work? Did you any time got that feeling?
Yeah, because usually in the lockdowns, there's positives and negatives. The one big positive is that you're all with your family. And sometimes I'm just with one of them, and I prefer to be with both of them at all times. But the way, sadly.
So maybe, thank you very much, Sadiq, and thank you for the courage to express that. But I think this is part of you building your future, definitely. Let me take a question from Lena, and I will come back to you. And also, I will give them the chance to comment. Maybe Remi can comment, or Amani, or Dalia. Lena, a question again. Yes, go ahead. Unmute yourself, yes.
Yeah. Another one of my questions is, how can I socialize with my friends without coming in contact with them?
Excellent. Now, who want to take this? Can you mix them together? This is a good question, by the way. And I can also share my own experience. My all colleagues, I teach higher education in the university. All my colleagues, I'm sure Dalia will agree the same. All of them, different universities in this country, they said the same. It's so boring, Alam. You go into screen, you have all the cameras are shut down. You only see one or two. You don't know whether they are sleeping, watching you. It's really being challenging to all academics. I know from 6 universities. So, Remi, what can you say to Lena? I mean, for her, socializing with unknown is quite difficult. And she lost completely the socializing. And you can also pick up what Sadiq said. What can you comment on this, Remi? And then we go to Dalia and Amani.
Okay, I obviously, with your parents' permission and your friends, your friends' parents, you could set up like a Zoom quiz, just come up with some creative stuff that you can do virtually. I think that's a really, really good way to go, because it's something exciting, something, there are lots and lots of questions on the internet that you can, somebody can be in charge of. So you might want to do, okay, this week, you're going to be in charge of a questions, and then you're going to be the quiz master. So you can like rotate it that way, but you got to find something, obviously with your parents' permission, that you can all do together, maybe once a week. That would take out that boredom and you not seeing each other. I know that in some schools they do a daily register where, all the children come together and the teachers kind of like do some fun activities with the children. But obviously it depends on what's happening in your school. But outside of school, you know, with your friends' parents' permission and your parents' permission, you could devise an activity that you could all do together once a week. And it's something for you to look forward to as well.
Okay, excellent. Dalia, maybe Professor Dalia, just comment on these two areas of
I'm
well,
totally
this is part
in
of the
with
lack of
Sadiq.
motivation. Someone is feel depressed.
I'm totally in with Sadiq, because we give him the space to express his feelings. And this is the importance of sharing them with us today, to hear from them. I'm totally with you, but you should be proud of your parents, that they are serving the community with very important rules, and this is a proud feeling you have to. And this is a sacrifice or responsibility. You have to feel it from your side.
Yeah, I am very proud of my parents, very proud.
Okay, that's great.
But this is your whole right to feel that you are in need to have them both together at the same time. We cannot deny this right from you. For online teaching, Professor Alam, yes, I'm suffering from the screen time while teaching and not seeing my students while delivering my courses. It's very important, the physical presence in the same room with the students. The screen time doesn't give us the opportunity to have the interaction, the body language, to at least look at their eyes and figure out if they are following, if they understand. But what to do? This is the whole situation we have to follow, and we are wishing that it will be shortened and going back to our normal life as soon as possible. For sharing the activity with their peers, yes, the online applications, they have many online applications. Young generations are very aware, maybe better than us, how they can communicate with their peers through many applications, and they can do many activities to share it with them. The physical communication is very important with the physical distance and precautionary measures. It may be applicable if it's with the parental monitoring of this communication. It can be applied with, of course, the restricted possibility, but it can be applied as well. This is from my side.
Okay, Dr. Amani, this emotional I don't know, you will have the best word, but can you comment on this, particularly for key workers? We know many key workers who they have to work, particularly just imagine for doctors, the long hours, or some people who work on shifts, train drivers, bus drivers, police officer. So what can you offer to them to do? I mean, can they do anything to try to compensate their kids for their long hours out of the site? And also they then a very good point Sadiq mentioned, because if they both working, not necessarily they both going to be at the, this is mean most of the time you might find one, the other time you find the other one. Can you offer any suggestions, Dr. Ramani, just to ease or to fill this gap if possible?
Maybe trying to I know many kids are going through that, mainly, as you said, children of key workers, but maybe Zoom, as suggested by Remi, for socializing the kids to socialize, maybe Zoom to fill the gap of the absent parent, 2 minutes of Zoom. I don't think it's impossible just, to socialize with your child, The other thing as well, in many parts of the world, there is this psychological support group that is being run by hospitals to support mainly key workers who are struggling with this. They're missing their kids, or they're worried that something is going to happen to their kids, or that the child is most of the time away from the parents. Parents are working odd shifts. The other thing as well, I believe also among key workers communities, they are trying their best actually to accommodate these kids. For example, I'm aware that, for example, in UAE, kids of key workers, they are allowed to, when there wasn't that severe lockdown, they were allowed to go to school and to be educated. They all go to a different school, So There are different measures, but again and again and again, maybe I said that in a previous episode, that I don't think we can achieve full happiness within this pandemic. You know, we are facing difficult time and we're trying to get the best out of it. It might be not ideal what's happening, but this is the best that we could do.
Okay.
You know, to put solutions, but it might not be possible to implement all these things, because yes, you can support some key workers, but we know some key workers are affected by the pandemic more than others. So not only they're going, but some of them are actually in isolation for a number of weeks, and so we just hope for the, you know,
it will finish sooner than later. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we exceeded our time as always, but because people, they like to ask questions, there's so many questions. But Ahmed, I will let you maybe just choose the last question from the social media, because there's so many questions, and I promise people I will get in touch with the three of them, Remi, Dalia, and Amani, and we will see if they can give us another 1 hour anytime. We will announce it, and we will follow up. There's so many questions, seriously. And I think because you are fantastic, the three of you, that is the problem of success. So the more you deliver good talk, the more you are so energetic, engaging, the more questions will come. But anyway, Ahmed, give us a last question from the social media.
I'm just gonna, I've got a request here for Habab Ali, is asking, would you kindly repeat the key routines at home, especially for the kids with special needs?
Okay, who said that? Is it Dalia, or who said that one?
I think Amani touched upon it.
Amani,
Prof. Amani.
Okay.
Yeah.
Key routine for kids with special need at home, right?
Yeah, yes, key routines for kids at home, and especially the ones with special needs.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna focus on the one with special needs, or children with neurodevelopmental disorder, because routine for them is key, and they've lost their routine. So for some, we need really to establish a routine, and for some, visual, they respond well to visual kind of aids as opposed to just talking. So we need, the timetable need to be set for them, like say in a big piece of paper or on a board, and to say like, each morning we're gonna do this. So it has to be written, actually, they have to see it. So we set the routine for them, say for example, and we start the morning with, I will suggest physical activity if they can do that, because physical activity will absorb a lot of tension, and most of these kids are active by nature. So according to your environment, you can kind of arrange this physical activity. Even some people got a trampoline inside their garden. Jumping up and down on a trampoline might be enough, but just we have to set that routine. And then they can sit down, and I believe their online teaching is tailored for them. So they sit for an online teaching, which is not going to be long because it has to be short lessons. Their attention span is not great. And then after that, maybe we have a snack. So whatsoever you decide, whatsoever you're capable of doing, that has to be written on a board for that child. Sleep and then going out for a walk is a must for these kids. Some of these kids got extra needs, like for example, some of them got sensory needs, so they need special equipment. I believe liaising with the school to see if, for example, in the UK, if they can borrow some of the stuff that they use in the school, and I know schools have been very accommodating or special needs centers. Something like weighted blankets, something like, so there are some tools that they use to kind of to reduce their activities a little bit. Some of them on medications, they just have to carry on what they're taking, and I am not kind of recommending any increase at all of any of the medications that they are on at the moment, because these are environmental changes. It's been forced on them. Sleep routine is a must here. And the sleep routine, I'm gonna just repeat it. This is for every child. You minimize screen time 1 hour before going to bed. You stop drinking from 7 p.m. because drinking will irritate the bladder. So the child, if the child will drink a lot and then you ask them to go to bed at 10, at 10:30 they will need to go to the toilet, at 11 they need to go to, because you're irritating the bladder. Citrus drink is a big no after 7 p.m. The late meal should be earlier, you know, like last meal should be earlier, because again, if you're eating, you need to drink a lot and then you're gonna go to the toilet. The bedroom, I repeat, for every child, let alone a special need child, should be a boring place. What do I mean by that? You don't do any activity in the bedroom, because any activity will get this, you know, will spoil the sleep completely. So the bedroom is just, there's no TV in the bedroom, there's no computers, there is nothing. It's just a boring place so the child could sleep. Children with special needs, they sleep less hours, most of them, as opposed to their normal peers. Sorry, I don't like the word normal. Other, you know, people without special needs or neurodevelopmental disorders. So it's important that we secure these sleeping hours for them. If they struggle, there is no harm in asking for some sleeping aid till they settle back to their routine. With regard to food, some kids with special needs, they tend to find comfort in eating. They like to chew. It's part of their sensory problems and part of their coping mechanism. There is no need to give them chocolate. I know some families will say he won't eat, he will only eat chocolate, he will only eat crisp. I've done this while I was working in the UK several times, that you don't put chocolate, you don't put crisp. He want to masticate something, give him fruits. He will refuse it day 1, refuse it day 2, refuse it day 3, day 4. There is no option but to eat this. All right. So in a way, this overeating, you know, to compensate for anxiety or other behavior, it's there. I'm not able to tackle it, but at least he's eating something that is not going to cause huge weight gain. All right. So as I said, continue with exercise, do activities, routine, and visual. You know, it has to be written in front of them. And please do not compromise. Do not say, okay, leave this for today, I'm going to do it tomorrow, because they do not understand that. And the more you stick to that routine, they will be happy with it. There is one thing I'm doing it here, and I used to do it in the UK for different reasons, not to do with the lockdown. For parents with children with special needs, I write a letter for them to enable them to go out. So I will say, this child struggle with this. Let us say autism, struggle with learning disability, struggle with ADHD. They need to leave the house. So it's almost like a permit for the parents to take them out, because you need some of them taking them in a ride to the car and just, you know, just go out for fresh air. It helps them regulate, self-regulate. So maybe they need to go to the doctor and to have a letter stamped by the hospital that this child got a special need. The parents are allowed to take them out. I used to do them in the UK for airports, because they don't stand in the queues, and if they're traveling or going to Disneyland. I'm doing it now for the pandemic, mainly when there was, you know, restriction of movement. I believe these kids got the right to go out. They are not like any other kids, and to be in a confined place is killing for them.
Thank you very much. And I can see also Remi sent some links. And Dalia, do you want to add anything, or are you happy with all this?
Oh, I enjoyed the talk of the
Okay. Okay.
And yes, recommend, I've typed into the chat box, visual timetables, very, very good. You can find them online and you can just download them, or you can make your own. But that's a starting point. Just type in visual timetable into Google.
Thank you very much, Remi from London, and Dalia from Cairo, and Amani from Abu Dhabi. Thank you very much to Siddiq, Lena from London, and Ahmed. And thank you very much to all those who are following us. I know we exceeded our time. I know there's so many questions. I think possibly I will ask maybe Lena and Siddiq to maybe filter them and say these questions are for Remi, maybe this is for Dalia, and this, because to bring people on live streaming like this with question and people from all over the, is very difficult because of the time difference. It's 6:20 now in the UK. I think it's almost 10 o'clock in, what is it, in Abu Dhabi, maybe 8 or 9, I'm not sure, in Egypt. But thank you so much for giving us your time. It has been a great great, I think, afternoon, and thank you for your time.
بنحلم بفضاء أوسع، بنحلم بزمن أجمل، بلاد ميلاد، بلاد ميلاد.